The state capture final report has made more damning findings against suspended ANC Secretary-General Ace Magashule. Magashule is already fighting charges of fraud, corruption and money laundering in connection with the 500 million rand Free State asbestos removal scandal. The State Capture Commission of Inquiry has now recommended that he be criminally investigated over his role in the Vrede dairy farm saga. For more on this story, I'm joined by Newzroom Afrika reporter Tumaole Mohlaoli, who joins me now in studio. Tuma, good to see you. In the Commission's final report, published on Wednesday night, it found that the disastrous deal had happened as a result of Magashule's pursuit of the Gupta's agenda.
Indeed, Hugo, and of course this would then all detail and deal with the issue of the foreign correspondents or those people that were brought from abroad, from India, incidentally, to come and consult on the Vrede dairy farm project. We know that the provincial government invested those hundreds of millions of rand in that particular project, and the consultants' work was not exactly clear as to what their role were. We do know that the Commission of Inquiry heard from those in the Free State provincial government who testified before the Zondo Commission that, of course, those consultants were given advanced payments. Now, this is what brought the bill up to the staggering 500 million rand. But the beneficiaries, the Vrede community, didn't see a cent of that. Instead, the farm itself then ran into a disrepair, and that's why we find itself continuously in that particular situation. And we know that, of course, when it comes to Estina, a dairy farm, there is also a court process that is now underway to try and recoup those lost monies. As to what happened to the 500 million rand, no one can say, because we do know that the beneficiaries didn't get the money and the dairy farm then tanked.
Now, Commission Chair Chief Justice Raymond Zondo in the report described the Vrede dairy farm project, which saw hundreds of millions of rands intended for poor black farmers channeled to the Guptas and their affiliates, as a complete disaster.
And I think, Hugo, complete disaster is exactly the right way to, phrase it and to try and frame it. Because when you look at the disaster there and the names that are linked, of course, Ace Magashule would have had to play a key oversight role when that project was then proposed to the provincial government. Ace Magashule's defense has always been that he had no direct input. But when you look at the testimonies before the Zondo Commission of Inquiry by those who were tasked with running the project and overseeing it in the provincial government, they were then accusing him of executive overreach. Of course, one name that also comes out quite strongly, Hugo, is the name of Musebenzi Zwane, to say that Zwane played a role of enforcer to ensure that in those EXCO meetings, the executive meetings of the province, that decisions around Estina, particularly when there was pushback around the issue of those consultants from India, was put on the table, that it was swept aside and those payments were ensured that they were pushed through.
Have we had a reaction from the intended beneficiaries?
Hugo, we have. I have spoken to the intended beneficiaries of the Estina Dairy Farm project, people from the community there, and they say that to this day they feel broken because this was seen as a deal that would change their lives, something that was at the time earmarked as a transformation agenda to try and change the face of agriculture, particularly in the Free State province. We know that the agriculture is still very much in the hands of white farmers, and Estina was supposed to be something of a flagship project that the provincial government would spearhead and therefore empower emerging farmers, and the community of Estina would have shares in that particular dairy farm, which would then sell its produce nationally, provincially, as well as, of course, regionally. These proceeds would then go directly into the pockets of those beneficiaries, while they would also be empowered with the view of them getting even bigger projects and bigger land, as the provincial government had seen and earmarked, even within the provincial budgetary announcements that were made around the time. That never happened. Instead, we see that the funds were allegedly channeled to those linked to Magashule and those particular consultants that came. The consultants, no work, Hugo, has been necessarily seen to have been done. There can be no proof of any work that were done by those consultants. Instead, what we find is that those who gave their testimony before the Zondo Commission of Inquiry was that the provincial government already had structures in place that could do that work. So instead, you found people who were sitting in offices, who had the expertise, who were being paid for work that they could not do because they were told they had to get instruction from the special consultants.
Well, Tumaole, I appreciate that. Thank you so much for coming into studio and giving us that update.